What's my least favorite crew? My least favorite crew. You know, my least favorite show, I do have a least favorite show, and that was the Republican California Convention in Burlingame. And I really felt like I was in the belly of the beast, and because I was short hair and well shaven, that there was an assumption that somehow I was with them.
Have you had any injuries directly related to work?
I've had bumps and bruises, but injuries related to work, frankly, I feel fitter now that I'm a stagehand. I've seen the corporate world before. I was a white-collar worker. I was overweight and had high cholesterol, and frankly, I feel that physically the job's been very good for me.
For real, all that?
Absolutely.
Good on you. What's your favorite thing about being a stagehand?
Being a union worker. My favorite thing about being a stagehand is being a union worker. My wife's been a union school teacher for over 20 years. I always admired the fact that she would be able to negotiate a contract and that the administrators had to answer to that contract. I never felt that way when I worked in the corporate world when I was white collar, and it was very much a refreshing change to have a seat at the table.
What's your least favorite thing about being a stagehand?
My least favorite thing about being a stagehand is I don't really feel that working class people are appreciated in general, not just as a stagehand. And I think there's an assumption that we're Luddites and that we're stagehands because we couldn't achieve anything greater in life.
And what's the longest call you've ever worked?
The longest call I ever worked was Lady Gaga. It was 22 hours. I definitely think I could have gone more. But I would also say that it's not like being a coal miner for 22 hours. Right? You're always able to sit down a little bit, or have some food. It just feels like one long day.
Did you enjoy that call?
I did. I did enjoy that.
How do you deal with the irregular work schedule?
How do I deal with the irregular work schedule? For me, the irregular work schedule is, frankly, it's a benefit. When I worked in the corporate world, it could easily be 60, 70-hour weeks. I was always going to be there from 8 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night, 6 days a week. Now, if I don't want to work and I want to be with my family, I can come off the list. I can work nights and be with my family during the day. So the flexibility for me has been a real advantage in this job.
How do you juggle work life with family life?
My family comes first. And if I'm fortunate to have had my affairs in order before I became a stagehand. So a lot of people don't get to make those kind of choices, and I do understand that. But for me, being a stagehand means that my family comes first, that being a stagehand comes second.
How does your wife feel about your work?
I think my wife feels very strongly about my work, positively and negatively. I think as a union worker herself, she respects it, but I think at times she feels that there should be more support for working people in general, that to lead to other questions, that you're not paid enough, the health care is not strong enough. So I think it opens for her wounds that she's seen already in her own union.
Okay. So do you not necessarily feel adequately compensated for what you do?
Do I feel that stagehands are adequately compensated? Absolutely not. I think they're woefully underpaid, just as most working class people are in America.
How has the changing state of diversity in the industry affected you personally?
How has the changing state of diversity affected me personally?
You've only been at it for like 6 or 7 years,
right?
So it's really not that that dramatically different.
No, but what I would say, one of the things I like about San Francisco, and I'm not originally from San Francisco, I'm from back east, I'm from Philadelphia, is I think that San Francisco is a diverse and tolerant city in a lot of ways, and I think that can't help but trickle down to a certain extent to being staging.
I've been to Philly, I like that.
So when you're sitting at a bar on your off night and you're talking to some stranger and they say, "Oh, hey, what do you do?" and you say stagehand, how do they respond?
Well, first of all, I don't talk to strangers in bars on off nights.
Except if you're stud.
Right, I mean, that would not be a scenario. But when I talk to other workers, I think I don't want to disagree with my comrades, but I think that people, when you peel back the onion a little bit, they can understand what a stagehand does. It doesn't take much to sort of, like, I can't understand what a nuclear physicist does, I can't understand what a brain surgeon does, but anyone who's been to a concert or a trade show, the cables go somewhere. And I think a lot of them do. When you lead them to water, they understand what a hard job it is.
What makes up a good stagehand?
you know, hard. It's a hard job. I think what makes up a good stagehand, and for me getting into the business, it was the physicality. Is that you can be a really talented person, but it's not just about, you know, it's brain and body both. And I think that's what's unique about this industry, and what I really enjoy about it is you meet talented people who are also physically strong.
Have you experienced any substance abuse or alcohol abuse related to the job?
Have I experienced substance abuse or alcohol abuse? Me personally, no. I think I drink more beer now that I'm a stagehand. Talk to more strangers in bars now that I'm a stagehand. But I think before, when I was a white-collar worker, I drank to cope. You know, I used drugs to cope, to make me less angry. And I think now it's more celebratory, which is, you know, positive for me.
Is there anything you'd like us to ask you? Is there anything you want to interject here?
Have I seen sexual harassment in the workplace?
Sure.
You know, absolutely I have, and I've been horrified by it. But I think, too, for me, again, how can I come from a very different place, and I think I've never worked in a blue-collar environment before, and I think I needed to understand blue-collar environments are more open. And I think that there was sexual harassment when I worked in the white-collar world. It was more behind closed doors, it was more insidious, and I think that the fact that we see it is actually an advantage, and will make it easier for us to address.
You might have kind of already answered this, but what drove you to stagehand work?
I wanted to be in a union, I really did. Why did I want to be a stagehand? Because it really fits well with my politics, to be honest with you. That was a big, it's like, I tell these guys all the time, it's like going to communist fantasy camp. Right? That I can sort of radicalize workers, I can talk about the contract, you know, and that's, yeah, it's a good feeling, for sure.
Are you political within the local itself? Do
No,
you stand up at meetings and talk?
No, absolutely, because am I political? I'm not a member, I'm not an apprentice, I'm a fellow traveler, that's how I would consider myself. I think that I take my chances to be political with, occasionally I'll run into a brother who's a Republican, occasionally I'll run into a brother who doesn't understand what collective bargaining is, and doesn't understand what guys like these have done for him, and I want to be able to be the one to deliver that message on occasion. It needs to be said.
Do you think that there's room for sisterhood in the brotherhood?
Do I think there's room for sisterhood in the brother? I don't like the word brother, I just like the word comrade, because it's gender neutral. And I think that there's always been room, and I think that that's the one thing that youth's going to bring, is I think that the attitude towards women are generational, and I think those attitudes they're changing now. I mean, it's happening, so I'm very confident. I'm optimistic.
Why did you choose the entertainment industry as your union of choice?
That's a great question. Why did I choose the entertainment industry? Because I knew these guys. And when I was a miserable white-collar worker, I used to go fishing with Greg and with Dennis, and they seemed to be having such a phenomenal time. So I think that that was a big part of my motivation, big part. And I couldn't have gotten into Local 16 without Greg, and without people like Greg and Dennis and other guys who, you know, put their neck out for me. Because if I really messed up, that would have been on Greg.
How many blowjobs did he charge you for that hookup?
I said same to you.
He's not done yet.
I'm not going to repeat that question. I'll say to Greg that I'm a little out of Greg's league, but someday.
How long do you think you'll continue to be a stagehand?
How long will I continue to be a stagehand? You know, that's a great question. I'd like to do it for many, many more years. I think it has a lot to do with when my wife retires, because I don't know if I'll be able to stay in the area, but you know, I'm not thinking about stopping now.
I think that's a good one.
It's a terrific interview. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
All right, let's kind of take.
And by the way, my politics are aligned with yours.
Wonderful. So you think we're underpaid?
What, you think you're out of my league too, bitch?
Oh, okay. Everybody, let's get ready to go to lunch, please.
Lunch.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
Thank you for the impromptu.
Yes, that was all. We had to have time for character remarks. That was all.
Cook that.
Very articulate.
I don't think so.
You did.
Okay.
You did
And
great.
loquacious.
Fabulous.
Thanks,
Oh, you're welcome.
Very happy.
Glad you didn't ask me about sexual harassment. Mentioned that Tom had to go to the union about Bobby Carn.
I know. I know. Adolfo,
But don't you?
Adolfo, great work on location.
You're a superstar. This place is great.
Yeah, amazing.
So we gotta get back down,
brother. Good to
down
see
on
you,
the
man.
peninsula. It's great to see you.
I got some great stuff from you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right then.
Yeah. Will I get to see a finished product eventually?
Yeah, could I get a copy of the overview somehow?
No.
Who do I ask, you or Slim? Yeah, the whole thing, if you
Yeah.
could, I'll send you.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, or at least mine.
My pleasure.
Alrighty.
I appreciate it. I really do, I appreciate it.
But did you go
You
through
did the woman's thing here, that was pretty well done.
What joke?
Oh, did you?
I'm sincere with that.
I'm glad you get to know him in this light, 'cause he really used to be a cop. I'm still a cop, so, you know.
That game recognized game.
Yeah. I would never insult you without insulting myself first.
She was wearing lipstick from day
All
one.
right.
It was nice to see you, sir. So easy to see you, Dad. Take care of yourself. It was a pleasure to meet you. Thank
What
you.
are you eating? Oh, no, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta stop you again.
You know, restaurant.